Our order of worship says that I am to read selected verses from Psalm 139. This is actually what the lectionary gives us on this particular Sunday to read. The lectionary, in case you've never heard that phrase before, is something that is given not just to Presbyterians, but a variety of denominations. It's an effort to help pastors like Debbie and myself to preach our way through the Bible and not necessarily just pick the scripture we want to preach on, but a variety of the biblical text. You get a selection from Paul's letters, a gospel reading, often a psalm, and an Old Testament reading that you can pick from. But sometimes the lectionary is curious, and I think today is one of those cases because they skip certain verses that maybe it would be good for us to hear. So in Psalm 139, I'm actually going to read the whole thing, and might be interesting. There's a part of it, particularly near the end, which you may have never heard before. So it looks like it's on page 577 if you'd like to follow along. Listen for the Spirit's movement in these words. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You have known when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in, behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain it. Where can I go from your spirit, or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. For it was you who formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are the works that I know very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes beheld my unformed substance. In your book were written all the days that were formed for me, when none of them as yet existed. How weighty to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. I try to count them. They are more than the sand. I come to the end. I am still with you. Oh, that you would kill the wicked, O God, and that the bloodthirsty would depart from me. Those who speak of you maliciously and lift themselves up against you for evil. Do I not hate those who hate you, O Lord? And do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them my enemies. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my thoughts. See if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. The word of the Lord. Let us pray. Oh God, there are times we want to be known. We just desire at the core of our being to be understood. And there are times in life when we would prefer not to be known. to just run away. Oh God, we can't run away from you, for you are wherever we go. And ultimately, that is a great gift. Thanks be to you, O God, for the psalmist who wrote this so many thousands of years ago. For it is an insight into our humanity, and it is an insight into who you are. And all God's people shall say. Now, I don't have glasses on right now, but as far as I can tell, balcony, you look marvelous. And I see y'all a little better down here. You look marvelous. And choir, I can really see you without my glasses. And I am telling you, you look marvelous. It is better to look good than to feel good. Billy Crystal, Saturday Night Live, late 80s, early 90s. I think I'm right on that. Of course, what is true is sometimes if you look good and you feel like you look good, well, hey, maybe we do feel a little bit better about ourselves. But the truth is that probably over the large scheme of things, we all want to feel good at the core of our being. And hey, if looking good comes along as sort of a side note, then all right, we're doing okay. It's interesting today, one of the generalizations that I hear a lot about social media, you know, Facebook, Instagram, all those platforms where you have a page. You hear people saying all the time, oh, well, gosh, those things, you know, people just create the image that they want to convey to the world, and it's so fake. That's just so fake. That's not their real lives. It's just what they want to convey. It's what they want you to think about them. And I always laugh at that. You know, it's said like that's new. Like we just started doing that when social media emerged. Come on. Even before social media, we've been saying things like that all the time. Dress to impress. Put your best foot forward. Put on your Sunday best. All these phrases, they predate the internet. They predate social media. We get it. We all want at times, maybe even most of the time, want to look like we're holding it together. You know, we don't think people receive very well if we're walking around like we're a mess. So we want to look like we have it together, whether we do that on social media or we do it in front of each other. That's going on. Now, I don't know if this is still happening. Some of the younger folks in the congregation can straighten me out on this afterwards, but I think I have a small sense of it. When Instagram was at the height of its popularity, it may still be at the height of its popularity, I know some of our teenager friends had an Instagram page where they kind of had most of their friends following them, the broader set of friends, friends who weren't even friends following them on Instagram, and you kind of put the self on your Instagram page that you want that vast majority to absorb. But at some point in the evolution of Instagram, this thing called Finstagram started. And you created a Finstagram page that maybe you didn't allow everybody to be friends with you on that. And if I get this right, it was a page that you had that maybe some of those closer friends had access to that you could kind of let down your hair with. That it didn't have to be the perfect image of you that you were trying to get out to everybody. It was where you were a bit more real. Isn't that interesting with our teenagers? And maybe I'm wrong, and help me out if I got this wrong, but even on social media, there was a point where we were like, I've had enough of this. I just want to be a bit more real. But I want to be real with people who I know maybe aren't going to make fun of me when I let down my hair a bit, when I'm just authentically who I am. And thus, Finstagram was born. So things just repeat themselves, no matter what the platform is. And we see it here in the Bible. Psalm 139. In Psalm 139, the word known or know is mentioned 7 times, particularly right there at the beginning in the first 6 verses. And folks who study numbers, particularly numbers that are used in the Bible, sometimes associate the number 7 with fullness or completeness. So folks wonder that it was intentional that the word known was used 7 times by the psalmist. In other words, the psalmist is saying that God knows me fully and completely by using that word 7 times. And the psalmist seems pretty happy with this. It is a wonderful thing, the psalmist says, that God knows me. I praise you, God, the psalmist says, because you know me this completely. But I'll be honest, I don't know about you. I read this psalm and, on many of my worst days, I'm like, I don't know if I want God to know me completely. Search the depths of my being, which aren't always beautiful. I was reading an article, a long article, and I got to the point that I started skimming it, so I didn't totally finish it. But it was an interview with Tonya Harding. I guess a movie came out in December called I, Tonya. I didn't see it. But in case you don't remember or didn't know or weren't born yet, Tonya Harding was an Olympic figure skater, and there was an incident. Somebody else hit one of her main competitors with a bar or a stick. And Nancy Kerrigan had this injury, and it turned out that Tonya Harding may have had knowledge of this, and it created a media storm and a lot of attention on the drama behind the ice skating between Tonya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan. So anyway, all these years later, some 23 years later, this movie comes out, and there's this extended interview with Tonya Harding. And if I could summarize the parts I read, she was saying to the person interviewing her, I am more than this one media moment. I really want you to know about my childhood and my teenage years and all the things that happened to me and informed who I was leading up to this moment. And then these 23 years after that media circus, there's other things that have happened to me. Please listen to my whole story. Listen to my whole humanity. And I don't claim to be an expert on Tonya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan and all that happened, but what I kind of identified with her and those thoughts and feelings was, hey, my life is more than 1 or 2 moments. And I think all of us can identify with that. In a world that loves sound bites, that loves to like pick one or two things about a personality and just decide who they are based on those one or two things, you know, you kind of get, I mean, right or wrong, whatever's happened in your life, you kind of get that perspective. Each of us, if we put ourselves in her shoes, wants to be understood beyond our worst moments. You know, and those worst moments didn't come out of a vacuum. There were other things that happened in relation to it. And all of us are saying, hey, you know, we're complex creatures where beautiful and difficult things happen. And we want to be understood beyond sound bites. And that's what makes Psalm 139, and particularly what the lectionary has done with Psalm 39, so interesting. I bet 6 out of 10 of you could quote from memory lines from Psalm 139, but not lines from verses 19 through 23. Oh, that you would kill the wicked, O God, and that the bloodthirsty would depart from me, those who speak of you maliciously and lift themselves up against you for evil. Do I not hate those who hate you, O God? And do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with perfect hatred. Wow. I count them my enemies. I bet none of us have committed those verses to memory. Yet we need to read the whole psalm. In a way, these words from Psalm 139 give me hope. Because I go, hey, this psalmist, he's not perfect. I mean, yes, he's defending God. Right on, defend God. But hey, brother psalmist, you got some things going on there. You know, hey, what about a second chance for the wicked? And perfect hate, can you tell me a little bit about that? Wow, that's worth a counseling session or two. What about loving an enemy? Oh, okay, yeah, I know that's in the New Testament, but hey, there was some grace in the Old Testament too. You know, it's good to hear this, because right after that, the psalmist says, search me and know me. See if there is any wicked way in me. Thank goodness the psalm moves on from those words, and the psalmist is still saying, search me out. That's, I think, exactly, those parts is exactly what God needs to know, those parts of us, our ugliest bits, because those are the bits where we really need help. At our ugliest, don't we all whisper, God, am I still lovable? Do I have hope? Can I still be in a relationship with you, oh God, even though I'm like this? And the beautiful part of Psalm 139 is the answer is a definitive yes. Because it's not about us being all put together and perfect. It's about a Redeemer seeing our ugliest bits, our most broken bits, and coming near in the midst of that. I think at the core of our being, we all want to be caught and found out by God at our worst, and still discover that we are loved. And you say, what about change? Well, I think it's in that very moment that at our ugliest, when we are discovering that we are still loved, that's when we begin to know change in our lives. That love drives us to be born into a new creation. When we know that we don't deserve love and hope, and yet God is right there, still offering it. Thanks be to God for the psalmist and for our ability to hear these words today and for them to make sense. Amen.